Hey, this is Kendall Lyden with My Home Option. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm really excited to talk to you. Today we're going to be talking about how to sell your house with Realtor the right way. And really, I find that the success of this transaction, this process, is in the foundation. So today we're going to be talking about 3 proven and tactical questions that you can ask to make sure that you get the absolute best real estate agent possible. Answering these 3 questions that pertain to their past, their game plan, and the relationship that y'all have built within one conversation in a very specific way can ensure that you are on the path to success. So let's jump in. Okay, so jumping into it, the first of these 3 proven and tactical questions that we need to ask about is their experience. What is their experience? This is so important. But not only is it important for them to have any sort of experience as a real estate agent, but it needs to be a specific experience that is specific to you and your circumstance and your house, right? You don't want somebody who knows how to sell maybe on the north side of town and they can do that all day long. That's great. But maybe there's different market conditions up there than there are if, let's say, you're on the south side of town, they're on the north side of town, or vice versa. You really got to make sure that they understand how to sell in your city and your area of the city. So you've got to understand that they have good experience. And we'll talk about some questions you can ask to make sure that they do have good experience in that area. But you also want to make sure that they don't only have experience. This is important to note alongside the first part, but do they have relevant experience? Do they have often experience? You want to make sure they have sharp skills. And what I mean by that is, how often are they selling houses in your area? How often are they doing transactions? Ask to see their portfolio. Ask to see what they've done in the past. Ask to see and then you'll be able to see how many houses have they done over their entire career. How often are they selling houses? How active are they in your local area? Are they operating typically within, a mile of you, 5 miles of you, 10 miles of you, 20 miles of you, and the farther out that you get, if they're not really close to you, then it might not be the right exact fit for you. And you want to make sure that you have somebody that really understands your market area to a T. Because jumping across the highway can make a huge difference. Moving sometimes from one neighborhood to another neighborhood can make a huge difference. And you can look up the information, but somebody who really knows that area, what I love to hear whenever I pull up a house and I talk to a realtor, I'm like, hey, what do you think about this one? They're like, oh my gosh, I sold a house there just a couple months ago. And I know if somebody's done that recently, then they know what they're doing and they're going to be very qualified to go through this transaction. And so take a few minutes to talk about these things. And here's some questions that you can ask. Maybe build your own list, but I want to give you a couple questions that you could ask that could probably help you at least begin to build your list of questions and help you through this process. Number 1, ask to see their 5 most recent houses. And there's a couple reasons for this. Number 1, you want to see how quickly are they selling houses, because there's a huge difference between somebody who's sold their 5 most recent houses within the last 10 months and somebody who's sold their 5 most recent houses within the last 5 days, right? That's a whole different level of commitment as a realtor. That's a whole different level of busyness as a realtor, right? So somebody who's sold 5 houses in the last 10 months is probably not somebody that I would personally want to go with. I don't think that they're going to probably have the most sharp skills possible, but it also depends on your situation. Sometimes high-end realtors don't move as much volume because they're doing so much per transaction. I think, sometimes if you're doing like large parcels, large pieces of land, they also don't move at the same pace as somebody who's in the city. So it depends on what type of realtor they are. But if you're in a typical, fast, maybe bigger suburban market, city market, you want somebody that's, I would say, at least doing 1 per month, if not more. However, with the caveat to that is, if you have somebody who's doing 5 houses in 5 days, that's somebody who's extremely busy and they're going to be hard to get a hold of. Very skilled, very qualified probably, if they're getting that many leads and that much business. However, they're going to be really busy and they might be hard to get a hold to. So then you got to think of, what type of relationship do you want to have with this realtor? How easy do you want it to be to get a hold of them? And you got to ask those different questions. So second thing I would ask, and there's kind of 2 questions here that tie together, is number 1, what is their average days on market? And number 2, what is their average sales price? Now, this is really going to help you whenever you kind of break to a sub question on those. And once you figure out what is their average days on market, what is their average sales price, ask what is the average days on market for the local market and what is the average sales price for the local market area as well. You're going to ask both those questions. specifically for them and specifically for the local market. So let's just say in an example that you have a real estate agent and their average days on market is 10 days, and the average days on market for the local market is 15 days. Well, you have a real estate agent then that is selling houses faster than the local market, and that's very, very good. But let's say the average local market is 5 days and they're still at 10 days. Then they're selling slower than the average market. And that just lets you know something about them, and really kind of maybe gives you just an idea if that's something you want to move forward on. Also, a sales price, if the average sales price for that area is, let's say, $200,000, and their average sales price personally is $210,000, then they're selling over the average market sales price, which is a great thing for you. However, if their average sales price in that local market is $190,000, and the average sales price is $200,000, now they're selling below. That's not necessarily a red flag or something that you don't want to use them for, but you just need to understand why that is. Are they selling really nice houses that are very comparable and they're just not able to get there on price? Maybe they don't have good negotiation skills, or maybe they have been selling a lot of houses that are more distressed, or they're older and worse condition than the typical average house, and that's why it's selling below. But you really just need to make sure that you understand the numbers on days on market and sales price. And lastly, I would ask them what their expected process from start to finish is. And I don't say this to say that you need them to have some sort of super special, very specific, detailed process necessarily. But what you're really looking for in this is confidence. Confidence is key. Somebody who's been doing this process a lot, done it many, many times, is going to have a lot of confidence in what they're talking about, and they're going to be able to tell you what that process is. And we'll jump in a little bit more in maybe another video about what the typical process is from start to finish with the realtor. Second big question I would ask is, what are their services? What are you going to be paying for? Typically you do end up making more money with a realtor, and we do talk about that in other videos for sale by owners versus realtors, or the true cost of selling with realtors, or anything like that. Go check out other videos if you're interested in those specific costs and those figures and those numbers. But you only really make that extra money if they do it right. So you've got to understand, how are they doing it, making sure that they're doing it right. A couple things you can ask about are, what are they going to be doing for photos? It's really important to understand, are you getting a lot of photos, a couple photos, drone photos? We'll probably be talking about different photo packages in another video, but understanding what do they do for photos, what do they do for staging, do they do their own, do they just give you some advice, do they hire soft staging, do they hire a big stager to come in and help you? So marketing, so I would say in the first two with photos and staging, that's really just making your house look good. Do they help you make your house look good? Do they pay to help you make your house look good? Do they pay to get you the top quality photos? Are they just planning to take photos with their phone? And then whenever it comes to actually marketing out that your house is for sale, are they going onto Facebook and letting the masses know? Are they going and doing mailers to let the neighborhood know that there's a house coming up for sale? Are they doing an open house to make sure that there's much foot traffic coming through the house as possible? In some situations, that's it's a great approach to take. It's very helpful for you. In some situations, an open house isn't really advantageous, not very helpful one way or another. So maybe it's not the best thing for you and your family and your home to do something like that. It also depends on market conditions and so many different things. Also, you got to ask, are they just listing it on the MLS? Because if they're just going to take pictures with their iPhone and put it up on the MLS, the multiple listing services just for realtors to see, it's probably not going to be the best person for you to want to work with. You really want somebody who's going to be doing high-level quality things to really make sure that they can move your house at the most money possible to get you the biggest bang for your buck. And that really goes down to supply and demand. If you can really create a high demand by pushing marketing, by making the house look gorgeous, by telling tons and tons of people about it, you're driving up the supply and demand, or really the demand on it. The supply isn't really changing, but your demand's going up, which is driving up your price, and that's really a key for you to get the most out of this home selling process as possible as you're paying this real estate agent. And lastly, I would say, what kind of, network within their services do they have that you can leverage, and how can you leverage that? After the sale, are they going to be able to use them as a buyer's agent? Or do they have like a moving company that you can tap into? Are you planning to rent a home? Do they have a rental, network that they can tap you into? Whatever it is that you're looking for, also see what is it that they have? What kind of network do they have that you can tap into? And I would say, for the most part, the bigger a person's network is, the more skilled they are, the more qualified they are, just because they've been in the game for a while, they've done plenty of deals, and somebody who can network well is somebody who's very successful. So look for somebody who can network well. And lastly, I would say a third, probably one of these important questions, proven questions, is do y'all connect? And this is very important because this is going to be quite a process. So you need to make sure that you're going to be able to trust this person. You're going to make sure that there's going to be good communication throughout this process. And you got to make sure that they have your best interest and that their interest isn't just selling your home, but it's making sure that you really have the biggest bang for your buck. And if they can't have this conversation well, if they can't answer these 3 questions about experience, about their game plan, and if you feel like there's just not really a great connection there, it's probably not somebody that you really want to work with. And you got to start asking yourself, is this somebody that you really want to use? But what I would say is stop all that. Skip the interview process. Let us help you over here at My Home Option and schedule an appointment with me and my team. And we'll talk with you. We'll get to know your situation. We'll understand where your home's at. And we'll be able to just leapfrog you right past a lot of those questions of, is it somebody that's skilled in my area? Is this somebody that's got, we talk with people who've got low days on market, they've got high sale prices, they work in that area, and they're very skilled at what they do. They're very relationship based, they've got large networks, and they're very skilled at what they do. That is our network, and that's what we do. So when you schedule a call with us and we call you, it takes about 15 minutes to understand your situation, and we plug you in with somebody who is going to be the absolute best fit and help you navigate this process the best way possible. So make sure you go to myhomeoption.com, schedule your call, get on the phone with us, and you will be on your way to selling your home with a realtor the right way, faster than you ever thought possible. Look forward to talking with you. Thanks.